Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, yWhales, wherever in the world you are today. It is January 19th, 2023. The year is getting kicked off to a real firestorm of information. Bitcoin and the crypto market, which were down for the last quarter of 22, suddenly have a little bit of life. We're seeing the fact that there is renewed interest in cryptocurrencies. Blockchain technology is really not in any way, shape, or form moved at all, meaning that it is still of interest. There's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of experimentation, and it gets just so much excitement around what can be done with EVMs, with blockchain technologies, smart contracts, and everything else. And I think the reason why I always say, whether cryptocurrencies are up or down, we're still seeing innovation because at the end of the day, blockchain is not Bitcoin. Blockchain is not cryptocurrencies. Blockchain is an entirely separate technology of which these other protocols ride on top of. What else can ride on top of those? Well, that's what we've got Dan and Krish here today from Replay to talk about, because I really think that this is one of those big use cases. And I see this often, and just as a quick note, this is a follow-up from last year where we had Dan and Krish come on and talk about kind of the concept that they were building. They've been building now for, I think it's probably been about 10, 11 months since we last saw you guys. Right. So this is a real good follow-up to understand not just what their thesis was, but also what's occurred over the last, bull to bear cycle, and also lots of lessons and learnings that they've had along the way. Thank you so much for allowing that. That being said, let's kind of jump right into it. But real quick, Dan and Krish, would you guys mind giving an overview on kind of your backgrounds?
For sure. Yeah, I can start. So I've been an entrepreneur, kind of in emerging media, content distribution, monetization for the last 15 years or so, almost all of that time as a co-founder with Krish across 3 startups now. And my background has been on the business development, business strategy, revenue generation side of it, primarily, starting with a focus on ad tech and now in the crazy world of video and Web3. Yeah.
Awesome. Krish?
Yeah, so not too different background than Dan. We've been working together in similar companies in ad tech, monetization, video streaming, several startups before this. And now with Replay, I've been more focused on the technology, the engineering, the vision, and the execution side of things. And with Replay, I have all of the above. Yeah.
We got a Jobs and Wozniak right here. So and that's a good thing. You have to have the business guy and you got to have the tech guy, exactly. Or woman, whichever it is in most cases. But I think there's a lot that I'd love to know, and so let's start with kind of giving a little bit of a history. So start with that original thesis, and then let's kind of walk it all the way through to where we are today, and kind of what you guys have learned along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Krish, you want me to take it, or you want to take it? Or
go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So our original kind of thesis going into Web3, having built, at the time we were getting started, we built and participated in building hundreds of streaming channels. And just like for the sake of background, when we say streaming channels, we mean things like you might find on your Roku device or Amazon Fire TV, a channel you might fire up on any of those devices. So we've been involved for the past, bunch of years in helping content owners build these direct-to-consumer strategies. And the simple kind of knockout question that really I think was a large driving factor of why we started Replay was, why after someone presses play does it take 9 months for a content owner to get paid? And I think that's kind of a question that probably didn't get asked a lot. It doesn't get asked a lot because in many ways it's a not my problem type scenario because people are just pushing the can down the road. But at the end of the day, you have content providers on one side that have all this upfront investment and, cost in building out their content. On the other side, there's us, the consumer, sitting there pressing play, watching different services and trying to get entertained. And then there's all of this fragmentation in between. And our idea behind starting Replay was that you can create a better ecosystem that's fairer and more transparent to the content provider. That was kind of the founding principle, right? I mean, Krish, feel free to share.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to what Dan said, I mean, a lot of the value that's currently being driven and generated is actually all going to the distribution businesses today. And by the time the content owners get their cut, by the time and consumers more so, they're not involved in anything. In fact, they pay for it. They actually are confused by so many different services out there. So anyway, so replay effectively, our thesis was, okay, can we somehow, and when we started getting into blockchain and why it exists and how it actually works, we felt like it was kind of a perfect solution to that problem. Maybe there is a way to kind of create a transparent video ecosystem where everybody knows what's happening in terms of consumption, in terms of activity, who's watching what, who's getting paid what, and everything. And even the consumers should be able to participate in what they're doing to help drive adoption or drive discovery or drive whatever value to the ecosystem. So we created a very simple framework on chain that can allow us to do that. And that's really the premise and the thesis behind Replay. We really believe in making that simple.
So this is, and let's kind of take a step back and make sure the viewers understand the technologies that we're going to be talking about here. So a lot of this is going to be Web 2, meaning streaming, software as a service type, that it's all up in the, content in the cloud. Putting gigabytes into blockchain is not scalable. But the monetization and the authorization of that content is the blockchain part of this, correct?
Exactly, that is correct. The tracking,
correct, and the transparency around the usage of that content. A big thing that's missing from the kind of Web 2 core versions of these businesses are real-time transparency. So I might be a production studio. I've developed a library of content. That's my lifeblood. I go out and do all of these revenue share type deals with a variety of platforms. 90 days later, I get my first check. I don't know if I should jump for joy or be like depressed because I don't know why I got what I got. And I have no visibility into who else is getting what. And so it's about kind of really providing that visibility as well to the content provider.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's jump into how it works. Let's if you guys can, where are you guys today, and how are you looking to onboard content creators and audiences?
Yeah, as as our that's a great question. Now that we built the protocol and what it actually accomplishes is so much. To introduce Replay to the market, we actually launched our own distribution service called Rewarded TV. It's an app very similar to like a Pluto or a Netflix or a Hulu. You can download it off of an app store on your mobile or on your TV. And effectively, there's no difference in terms of the user experience or how content is watched. We wanted to make that very simple and familiar to a lot of the people. But everything is powered by effectively Replay's tracking protocol to help effectively compensate content creators in real time. And also we went to the next extent of also rewarding consumers, the people that are watching, to also be rewarded for any engagement or any sharing or amplification of it. So that was kind of our go-to-market strategy, was to kind of launch the streaming service. It's available already now live. We officially launched it in mid-August of last year. So it's been just about a little more than 5 months, I would say. We actually now have almost, I would say 10,000 monthly actives that are both crypto savvy and also.
This is really good.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
The amount of time that and again, this is something we don't see in Web3. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of credit here. In the amount of time you told me that I was an app, and clearly it was in the show notes that I hadn't paid much attention to. Went to the Apple App Store, downloaded the app, and within 90 seconds, it downloaded, and I am streaming TV.
Oh, appreciate it.
Streaming content, everything else, clear sound, everything. I have the Direct TV app. I can't even get logged into it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, it's what is so super exciting about this space, and obviously coming from it, it's like there's a well understood and known business opportunity in streaming, and then we've added on kind of these advanced capabilities and new technology to make that better.
Mhm.
And we're hoping people see, and thank you for doing that just now. What we're hoping people see is it's like this could be the easiest on ramp into Web3 ever, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just super turnkey. We want to keep the content's for everybody. If you play around with the service, you'll see that it's available on all major platforms. We're continuing to bring on like more and more exciting content partners and sports leagues, and it's been an awesome ride so far. But I think that's probably, like, Jay, the biggest thing in the last year that we learned is like, look, I think rather than try and push these principles into other existing streaming services, it's like, let's just launch our own and show content providers that we can get them paid faster and more transparently. And on the other side of it, let's kind of reward consumers for this activity and see if we can kind of bottle this magic, and then expand the capabilities. From there, getting real time feedback from the community. So yeah, that's kind of been like, I think the biggest thing was kind of going all in on this go to market strategy. Right.
So let's talk about that here in a second. But I think the most important thing that you said, and as well as what I just proved right here accidentally, blockchain's invisible. Nowhere did it ask me for some random Web3 wallet that if it had, that the demo would have been over, because I don't know where this is. I'm not going to expose, I'm not going to go and import a wallet. I don't use, MetaMask on a mobile for obvious reasons. And so it's like, the Web3, I love the Web3 logins. I love the Web3 checkouts. I think they're fabulous, but they're not safe. And that's the biggest thing. And so when you're saying, hey, I want you to connect your online assets, your online identity to this thing to test, like, and I get 10 of those a week, I'm like, no, no, I'll take your word for it. It works or doesn't work. So I appreciate that you are very much a Web3 product. You're very much blockchain geeks that are working on this stuff. But the consumer who doesn't care and doesn't need to understand that can get what they wanted, which is watching TV.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's exactly. I just want to add one thought to it. I mean, it's like Jay mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. I mean, effectively, it's like, how do you, what exactly do you do to make it simple and seamless, right? So that's where we focused a lot of our attention on. And yeah, that's it. That's all.
So walk me through what's happening on the back end of this. So I turn it on, I immediately start streaming. What data are you guys collecting, and where are you guys moving down that monetization path for the content creators?
Yeah. So there are a couple things happening. So one, the stream itself, to an extent, is there are two aspects. There's the tracking aspect that is decentralized by the replay protocol, right? And then there's the actual hosting aspect, right? There's the actual there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. There's transcoding and putting it onto CDNs and stuff. That's where actually our partners, Theta Labs, come in.
Oh wow! Okay.
So Theta is the decentralized video infrastructure specifically for media companies. So we partnered with them to decentralize even the hosting of it. So the only thing that is really centralized is the app itself, like, just because we need to get it into the App Store.
So this is streaming on Theta?
Yeah, this is all the movies, and yeah, everything is on stream. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. So this is probably the largest use case for Theta I've seen then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely a big and a good partner of Theta to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And just, let's just talk about this app for a quick second. and I'm sure everyone who's listening is now downloading and playing. You've got films on demand. You've got, streaming TV shows. I'm sure it can expand from here. What kind of lift was it to go from, we wanted other people to use our streaming services, to this thing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so kind of, obviously having been in the space and having built, like I've said, dozens of these apps, like we were able to leverage tech stacks and partners that we were already familiar with to get there, right? And so that's that's the thing, right? I mean, we were able to go to market and make a choice to kind of get there. I don't know, within a few months, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple
One
of
unfair
opportunities we
advantage.
saw. You know, we've dealt with dozens of kind of content libraries that,
Mhm.
you know, all understood the problem, and then they were like, okay, we're in when you figure out how we're going to actually do it, right? And then when we kind of were able to say, look, we think the path forward is through launching this service, we were able to get a number of really good content libraries to be early adopters and test. So really kind of the longest cycle was going through that and kind of getting the tech partners and vendors lined up, and then we were able to kind of get to market with V1. I think in May, right, and then in August we were able to roll out kind of the rewards dashboard and the fun side of it. We haven't really talked about yet, but that's you know it was moving relatively quickly, and now we're kind of able to kind of iterate around this experience and create the flywheel of, well, now we've got some content, so we can get some audience. Now we can get some more content because we got more audience, and start building on that. And to touch on your last point, Jay, is just in terms of the monetization side of it. And obviously, there's from a significant amount of content that's truly free, like completely free video on demand, no ads or anything. We have a membership tier that is NFT token gated content, which you can experience today as well, simply just like that. We view it as a path for content libraries to be able to, basically test digital collectibles for membership, right? And so that's kind of the way we've been able to expand upon that and actually generate revenues for the business. And then lastly, there's this kind of mega trend of free ad-supported streaming television that's exploding around the world. I don't know if you've heard of it or read about it or anything, but basically cable 3.0 is a thing, and we're well positioned to kind of just generate revenue from an ad-supported model.
No, I love that. And a couple of quick points on there. Number one, this is why the 10,000 hours is critical and important for any asset class. There is no one that has their 10,000 hours in blockchain streaming so far. But this is where your ability you already know this, you've built it, you've understood it. This is a professional app that's full featured, ready to go. And it blows away most of the things that we see that are much more, kind of native. Like they tried to build all this crap on their own, and then they get bogged down in some details that were solved long ago. Mm-hmm. But you have to know the right person. You have to understand the challenge and with the larger picture. And so that's really relevant. On your point about, cable 3.0, I've already kind of learned this. And, no matter how many apps I buy, no matter how many subscriptions I own, we're doing searches under the Apple TV, under the general search thing. And it shows you the movie that you want. And sometimes they're not available to buy. Sometimes they're just going to stream with commercials. And so suddenly back in my life, I mean, literally, I'm not joking, 15 years I haven't seen a commercial, and slowly they're starting to weave back in because there's some content that is only available with commercials. And it's fine. It's fine. If I'm going to have to watch, 5 minutes for an entire movie, a total of 30-second commercials broken out here and there. The kids' cartoons that I'm seeing are now reintegrating. Is where I see a lot of it. These old cartoons that the Smurfs and Fraggle Rock is free, but with commercials, and that's great. Fine.
That's the trend, right? The underlying trend is, we're in this kind of distribution overload ecosystem, and there's a lot of content libraries that are thinking about how do I make sure that I capture every eyeball that's possibly available to us. And that's what's been able to, that's kind of a thing we knew going into it in terms of a driver of our ability to acquire content en masse. And I think the other side of it is, as whoever owns, Smurfs or Fraggle Rock kind of is like, okay, maybe we're not doing as much with digital distribution as we should be, or our deal with XYZ network is coming to an end. Let's start looking at digital. As they're doing that, they're getting embedded with a variety of vendors that exist in that space to do the delivery. And they're starting to incur costs. And once they incur those costs, they really start to think about, now I really need more distribution. And so that's kind of driving, it's the early adopters are driving the creation of this, groundswell of content. And now we can push that out. And so we just become this, differentiated place to capture that, content fallout as a start. And then we, kind of go from there. And then the advertising ecosystem is really, really developing now as the dollars shift from linear to television.
Yeah, let's go right into the advertising, because I've got a couple of questions for you and on that front. So in the cable world, of which, my legacy companies that I've long since sold off, we were doing, we were from $4 to $5 million a year of marketing in a couple markets. And a big chunk of that was on cable. And cable, you did that because you could target the household. You could do a little bit here and there. It was relatively general, but they were starting, kind of towards the mid 2010s and the late, kind of like 2017, 2018. They're a little bit better with it. Today, they're still struggling. Yeah. But the one thing I find on cable is you're still getting a lot of generic advertising, which I don't care about. Wasted dollars, no interest whatsoever. But what I'm seeing happening on these other apps and everything else is it's very targeted at marketing. And so I'm going to call out that when I opened your app for the first time after downloading it, which took 2 seconds, it said, "Hey, can we track you? Can we?" I said, "No, that's fine." But I'm betting that whether I allow tracking or not, it's much more targeted, meaning that your content providers are able to mix and match with the marketing agencies and the advertising agencies to best actually deliver success for all parties. Content was delivered, ads were targeted, and everyone can keep moving forward in this massive ROI circle that we all chase.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the targeting capabilities in digital, television, digital TV is it's a lot better. And yes, I mean it depends on if you allow tracking or not. But
all right, I'll give you tracking, and if I allow you tracking, but you got to tell me what it's doing and how you're monetizing it.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's like it's to be honest, that's when it's more around retargeting and a little more hyper level type stuff. But outside of that, like geographic and interest based, depending on what type of content you're watching, all of that is kind of available for money.
Okay. You got access to all my stuff.
Okay.
So
you're going to be incredible.
There you go. Listen, it's going to be great. It's nothing but trucks and and crypto ads, I'm sure.
Yeah, no shortage of
I'm sure.
So walk me through what's capable though. So regardless of where you are today, talk because I think there's a lot of this is a business focused podcast, and so there's a lot of business people that again need to deliver targeted ads. Yeah. So define how detailed you can be. Will you know who's watching? Will you be able to say, hey, this is a G-rated content, so it's most likely, even though we know it's this person, this is clearly not them, it's their kids. Let's deliver something that's different than sports car ads.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I mean, I think as the business scales, the capabilities around advertising, targeting, become pretty significant. But a lot of our kind of, frankly, past experience and background is also, as we mentioned, in the ad tech space. Right now, for the purpose of the service here, we actually push a lot of that downstream to partners. So the channel operators themselves actually want to do the monetization. So effectively, we become a portal for them, right? We are the portal to the eyeballs. We have partnership deals in place that drive revenue, but our advertising partners are the ones that are actually doing a lot of the selling against those channels. And yeah, I mean, they're taking into account, obviously, the device and things like that people are on, what
genre and
watching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we're passing that you're telling them exactly what word, although other companies are passing in like transcript information and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, obviously the digital advertising ecosystem has evolved pretty significantly. The linear television ad ecosystem is kind of behind that. And then there's like this transformation of dollars into, I guess, what we would collectively call the over-the-top advertising ecosystem. So it's really anywhere video is delivered over the internet, and primarily against what we would call here like long form content. So people are engaged, they're watching a show and all that stuff. Our goal, I just want to be clear, I mean, we're also trying to make as much of this content ad free or ad light as possible. But obviously obviously, it's a business. So.
Yeah, very very fair assumption, and nothing's really free at the end of the day. You're either you either are buying the product or you are the product.
Right,
so
right, exactly.
I think we've heard that one time and time again.
Yeah, that's a great.
So dive into a little bit more. I want to understand the possibilities. So I have a piece of content that I believe I'd like to put online. You guys are going to stream it for me. That's great. People can either pay to or choose to pay for it, or they can choose to have it be sponsored by ads. And by ads, I assume that those fractionally you're using some smart contract technology for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, those are the two methods. Typically there is a HOV model, an hours of viewing model, that we compensate the creator, and that's how we use the replay protocol to compensate. So based on the watch time and things like that. If it's an ad model, they either get into a rev share deal with us, or we in the background translate it to the same HOV model. So they're getting real time payments, real-time tracking, everything kind of. So we try to keep it as simple as possible to the content.
And then, of course, there's like just token gated, which is
and then there's exactly.
They can just choose to make it available to NFT holders only. For instance.
Exactly. Yeah.
So basically, if I wanted all of my Crystal Whale holders, if they logged in and did the Web3 login, and we had a deal with Disney, automatically they'd see the Crystal Whales. And they go, hey, let's unlock just Disney content for them. The rest of it's still paid because there's no.
Yeah, in fact, that's the sales pitch I was going to make to you on this podcast. Is I was
sold
that
you're representing Disney. Let's do it.
We can not Disney. I can't represent Disney, but I can use those. Leverage the Crystal Whales to unlock content on our platform, and that's actually where we're going with the platform. I think in terms of how we think about growing the ecosystem. Like, so you've opened the app, you see it's like a general market. It's a general market streaming service. It's got content for everybody, although obviously there's a crypto lean to it, just given what we're doing. The way we're growing is we partner with other NFT based communities, other crypto communities, and we actually give life to their NFTs by reading them, and then potentially even giving special perks out based on rarities and things like that. And that's actually been our growth strategy. So
wow.
So the idea that we can partner with, and I think what even sparked, I think our reconnection a few months ago was I look at yWhales. You guys have done a great job building out your YouTube presence. But given your audience, we think it'd be amazing to have the yWhales content directly on our service. And you can give Crystal Whales that are there watching a boosted reward when you do that. So you now are we're able to help each other effectively, which I think is really the whole concept of Web3. We provide a video service to the Crystal Whales. The Crystal Whales are now engaging more with your content, and so that's the idea.
I love that. The easy answer is yes, of course. We'd love to kind of play with this technology with you guys. So yeah, there you go. Live on the air. It's you can see how deals are struck with me. It's pretty easy. Ask, and as long as it's positive for all of us, then let's make it happen and play with the technology. Krish, how hard of a lift is this technically? Because CDNs, already have, a number of challenges. Netflix spends, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year on those content distribution networks. I'll start saying a few of the analogies I know, and you'll have to fill in the rest of them. But this is a big lift, and these are big problems that can scale. But I mean, we're just now at kind of the tail end of people figuring this stuff out. 5 years ago, there was still major buffering that had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It has definitely improved quite a bit. It was a big lift. I would say, that's one of the reasons why we partnered with Theta Labs, is because they went through that lift and the challenges in building a decentralized node infrastructure. I think they now have 3,800 validators and all over the world, and they have they have about 25 different. They have 25 validator, like the big validators, and they have 3,500 Guardian nodes that all serve and host and content in a decentralized manner. So that was definitely one of the reasons, because we didn't want to go down that path of like, doing it from scratch or anything like that.
Or paying Amazon S3 rates.
Right. Yeah. The S3 rates. Yeah. I mean, exactly. Well, what was the question again?
No, again, just understanding the lift and how big of a pipe this is, and
Right.
can it scale? I mean, again, when you get to like, you're probably at thousands, tens of thousands of viewers now, but when this gets to millions, tens of millions, like.
No, you're right. We do have, there's it's a combination. We have a peer-to-peer method on top of the, decentralized central, hosting. And then there's always a fallback to the traditional CDNs, in case the capacity doesn't, doesn't hold itself. Today we already, we have 10,000 monthly active users.
Wow.
We just reached 2 million hours watched just a few days ago. We're doing about 500,000 hours every month now, growing every month. So it is prompting users to host more nodes, and and we are falling back to some CDN networks, like I said, to make it happen. But it is like a little bit of a catch up. But we're trying to, obviously, with the partnership we have in place, we're figuring it out together.
No, and again, that's part of entrepreneurs and startups.
Exactly.
What's real quick? What's the most popular show on your platform right now?
So we have this documentary called Cryptopia. That's actually pretty cool. Should definitely check it out. We have a good relationship with the director.
So it is. So you have an original piece that's on your platform.
Original one. It's something that we were able to get the rights for, but it was a good movie. It was a good movie
that's great
documentary. And we also had a bunch of live channels, like the Crypto News channel. But it's currently offline, but it will be on in a few days. But yeah, so those and we do host these watch parties. So we have these Wednesday watch parties that we do every week, and we follow themes. If it's like if it's Halloween, if it's Christmas, if it's Valentine. So depending on the theme of the week, whatever, we all come together as a community and watch together, and that's one of our growing. A growth hack too, almost like it actually helps us keep the community engaged.
I love that.
Hey, I will
but I
tell
think
you
Dan is going to pull in the data.
Oh, Dan, yeah, give me your list here.
I was going to just say right now, at this particular moment, Sky Dancers is the #1 movie, which is a story of a few women pilots who take part in the male-dominated sport of aerobatic flying.
Great. Okay. Look at how inclusive this is.
Yes, it's that's the most popular movie today. So,
you know what? I really find this entire conversation interesting. Number one, this is not where you guys started. It's similar. It's not too far from where your original thesis was, but you had to kind of jump through a number of roadblocks and hurdles to get there. So I think this is a really good lesson for entrepreneurs in the space. You may want to build everything from soup to nuts and have that entire linear path. But anywhere you can get a shortcut and partner with somebody like you guys did with Data Labs makes a ton of sense. You're both on the same journey in the same ecosystem, the same asset class. If you said, hey, we did this with blockchain and then, everything is on Amazon S3, I wouldn't have knocked you much, but it still, there's a big piece from this being a true Web3 content provider. The fact that you're at least primarying data and their streaming services with a fallback to traditional CDNs and cloud computing. Great, fabulous. It needs to work, it needs to be able to scale. And we're still, it's so much at the bleeding edge right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Talk about, kind of as we start wrapping up towards a close right now, talk about your roadmap over the next, kind of year or two. It's been a dynamic shift, but you now have a product, you now have revenue. So some of the key things that every startup needs that you've launched, you can point to something that you've done. You hopefully have some revenue channels that can always be grown. But what's kind of the big items that you're still need to be tackled?
Yeah.
Krish, go ahead.
Yeah, I can take a first stab and you can expand on that, Dan. The big one is what we just discussed. We have this new. We're trying to build, or we're actually launching a gamification dashboard directly into Replay with badges and streaks. So if you're familiar with the Peloton or Apple Watch, like it really kind of tries to get you up in the morning, and so you got to finish your walk or run, and you get a badge, right, for doing so. So we're trying to do something similar. We have our own badge concept, and we're doing badges for attending watch parties, and you get a badge. If you accomplish certain milestones, like watch X amount of hours of horror content, you get a badge. And the more you collect, that actually gets you something, right? An exclusive perk, or maybe an NFT, or access to some content that nobody else does. So we're kind of automating badges and streaks and really gamifying the whole experience. And that's something that I don't like, just from our experience. I mean, there's no one really on the streaming service side that's doing it. So we're trying to take that approach to really make TV watching fun.
That's awesome.
And that actually prompts people to come in and come back and, oh, there's another watch party. Let me join that. I want that badge, or I want that, NFT, whatever it is.
Gamification, man. That's what all these kids want.
If you think about it too, I mean, the reason you would, it's not obvious why you would reward viewers for watching, but at the end of the day, like the reason you're doing it is because, how you and I most likely discover content that we watch on other services by word of mouth from our friends, right? So the value that you're providing back to the content provider, just seeing something, you might mention it. Sharing it with your friends, you've now amplified discovery. Rating something, reviewing it, hosting watch parties, tying that to collectibles, all creates stickiness around the piece of content, and that provides real value back to some of this library content that it's like Fraggle Rock. When was the last time you watched it? And so you kind of have to build the momentum from somewhere. We think we can kind of really build a momentum engine with our community of folks that's actively watching, and make it fun for them. And if you don't want that, by the way, it could be totally in the background. And that's awesome. The beauty, I think, of it. It's like, you don't want that, just watch.
Fabulous.
So that's one. Gamification is a big deal for us. And we're also, partnering with other, I think, we just talked about other NFT communities, reading their traits and, unlocking perks when they join watch parties. So we're actually working through, we have a partnership with Unstoppable Domains, which is like a big crypto thing. We're planning a watch party with them over the next few weeks that brings both our communities together and come and do something, right? And we're doing something like that with many other NFT collections out there.
Including hopefully silver whales.
And including.
Listen, they're all in the background here. You pick your whale. We'll make it happen. I got to drop a couple into your guys' wallets, so you can join.
Yes, and we have that too. So
fabulous.
We get a perk. And then we're also, I'd say we're also, because it's community driven, and it's about kind of bringing watch parties together. We're building all of this functionality directly into Discord servers. So the idea is to make a very seamless integration with Discord as a bot, where you can immediately come in. If you want to host a watch party with your community members, you can do that, right? Just right within the server. And then it initiates a very simple player with a chat built in. We bring the Discord chat right into it. And you can also bring your NFT collections inside it as well, and authenticate again. So there's a lot of those things we're working towards in the near future. And obviously, our primary thing is we want to keep working on better content, more content, more breadth of content. Where we did deals with some pretty good studios and live channel partners. We're continuing to bring movies and episodic TV shows, and really, I think with enough content and users, we could be on par with Tubi TV or Pluto, at least from a content offering perspective, and then really taking it to the next level with rewards and our play protocol.
Wow, that's awesome, guys.
So yeah, I think it's
Have you rested much?
No rest for us. Like we're super passionate about this.
What's the size of your team today?
We're 10 people at the moment. So yeah, so we're 10, and we're primarily Austin, Texas based.
Oh, we'll see you guys for Consensus.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
100%. Yeah, we'll be there.
Fabulous. So real quick, guys, as we bring this towards a close, where can people, guys, where can they find you, learn more, if they're a content provider that they like to get on your platform? What's the best ways to engage?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think our socials, at Imagine Replay on on kind of all the key social platforms, on Rewarded TV, we do have portals. If you go to www.rewarded.tv, you can ask to be a content provider there and reach out to us, or simply hello@Imagine Replay. We'll find you. And so, for sure, if you're a content provider or someone in the space, we'd love to talk to you as we keep building this thing out.
Fabulous, guys. Fabulous. yWhales, this is our follow-up with Replay, Dan and Krish. I want to say I'm very impressed because there's a lot of people that last year didn't launch anything, or were distracted, or had such a massive pivot that they've had to go back to the drawing board. Whereas, these guys produced a product based on, the same frame of mind that they were in back when they had their theses. It works. It's up and running. And like I said, completely unscripted, live, downloaded from the App Store, up and running, working. And so I think that clearly you guys are probably one of the leaders right now in streaming Web3 content. And I know a lot of people that really would love to see this problem solved. A lot of content creators, a lot of writers, a lot of people that even down that pipe. This really flushes out so well. We're seeing it on Broadway. And a variety of other kind of entertainment protocols. So thrilled to see you guys tackling this problem, solving some issues, and excited for the next follow-up to see how all the gamification has gone. And 100% we're going to get the crystal whales on there for everyone listening.
Oh, amazing. I would love that. Thanks so much, Jay, for having us back.
Yeah,
anytime, guys. yWhales, we'll see you later. This is Dan and Krish with Replay. See you guys soon.
See you.